Seneca called anger a brief madness. He wasn't being poetic, he meant it literally. The man who wrote more about anger than any philosopher in history had one conclusion: anger doesn't make you powerful, it makes you its prisoner. These are his 5 rules to destroy it. Rule 1: anger always hurts you more than them. Think about the last time you were truly angry, not mildly annoyed, genuinely furious. What happened to your body? Your heart rate spiked, your chest tightened, your thoughts raced, you couldn't sleep. You replayed the moment over and over, and the person who made you angry, they went home and had dinner. Seneca wrote, "How much more damage anger and grief do than the things that cause them." This is the truth most people never see when they're inside the emotion. You think anger is something you direct outward, at the person, at the situation, at the injustice. But anger lives inside you. It burns in your body, it poisons your thinking, it keeps you up at night. The person you're angry at doesn't feel any of that. You do. Seneca said, "There is nothing more stupefying than anger, nothing more bent on its own strength. And when it fails to reach its target, it turns its teeth on itself." Your anger is not a weapon aimed at them. It is a fire burning in your own house. Every minute you spend angry is a minute they live rent-free in your head. Every sleepless night is a gift you gave them. Every ruined day is time they didn't spend, but you did. The moment you truly understand this, anger loses most of its power over you. Not because you stop feeling it, but because you see it clearly for what it is. A punishment you give yourself for someone else's crime. Rule 2, delay is the greatest remedy. Seneca wrote, "The greatest cure for anger is delay, not suppression, not pretending you're not angry, just wait." Here's why this works. Anger is a wave. It rises fast, it peaks, and if you don't act on it, it falls. The problem is, most people act during the rise, when the wave is highest, when they are least themselves and most the emotion. What comes out in that moment is rarely what you actually mean. It's the anger talking, and the damage it does to relationships, to reputations, to situations, often can't be undone. Seneca said, "Resist the very first incentives to anger. Resist its beginnings, because once it begins to carry you away, it is hard to get back." The practical version of this is simple. Before you respond, pause. 1 breath, 10 seconds. Walk away if you can. Not forever, just long enough for the peak to pass. You will be amazed at how different the situation looks from the other side of that pause. What felt catastrophic becomes manageable. What felt like an attack becomes a misunderstanding. What demanded a response becomes something you can simply let go. The pause is not weakness. It is the most powerful move available to you, because in that moment, you are choosing who responds, you or the anger. Only one of those responses you will be proud of tomorrow. Rule 3, practice poverty of reaction. Seneca had a concept that sounds strange at first. He called it practicing poverty, not financial poverty, emotional poverty of reaction. The idea was this: regularly choose to give less reaction than the situation seems to demand. Train yourself to respond with less than feels natural. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Normal reaction: horn, frustration, cursing. Poverty of reaction: nothing. A breath. Forward. Someone criticizes you publicly. Normal reaction: defend, explain, retaliate. Poverty of reaction: a calm response or silence. Someone lets you down. Normal reaction: anger, withdrawal, punishment. Poverty of reaction: a direct conversation without heat. This isn't about being a pushover. Seneca was clear on that. It's about training your reaction muscle the same way you train any muscle. If you only ever give maximum reaction becomes your default. Every small frustration becomes a major event. Every minor slight becomes a wound. But if you practice giving less, deliberately, consistently, something changes. Your threshold rises. The things that used to trigger you stop reaching the level required to produce anger. Not because life gets easier, because you get stronger. Seneca did this by deliberately exposing himself to discomfort and choosing not to react. Cold, hunger, inconvenience, minor injustices. He practiced being unaffected so that when the real tests came, he was ready. Rule 4. See the humanity in who angered you. Marcus Aurelius said it. Seneca agreed with it. When someone wrongs you, look at them. Really look. Not at what they did. At who they are. What are they dealing with? What do they not understand? What pain are they carrying that made them capable of this? Seneca wrote, "We must be indulgent with one another. We live among men. We must live among errors." He wasn't excusing bad behavior. He was dissolving the fuel that feeds anger. Anger requires you to see the person who wronged you as an enemy, as someone deliberately targeting you, as someone who knew better and chose worse. But almost nobody is that simple. The colleague who snapped at you is dealing with something you can't see. The friend who let you down is fighting their own battles. The stranger who was rude is carrying weight you know nothing about. This doesn't mean their behavior was acceptable. It means your anger is built on an incomplete story. When you see the full human being, not just the action, anger becomes harder to sustain. Not impossible, but harder. And harder is enough. Because anger doesn't need to be defeated completely. It just needs to be weakened enough that reason can step back in. Seneca called this the work of a mature mind, seeing people fully, judging actions without dehumanizing the person. It is one of the hardest things a human being can learn to do consistently. And Rule 5, this is the one question Seneca said you should ask yourself in the middle of any anger. It takes 3 seconds. It works every single time, and once you start using it, you will never be able to take your own anger quite as seriously again. If these ideas are changing how you think, subscribe to 5 Ideas Daily. Rule 5. Will this matter in a year? Seneca wrote, ask yourself how many of the things that have driven you to anger have been worth it. Not in hindsight, in the moment, before you react. Will this matter in a year? 3 seconds. That's all it takes. The argument you're about to have, will it matter in a year? The email that made your blood boil, will it matter in a year? The comment someone made, will it matter in a year? For most things, the answer is no. Obviously no. Not even close. And the moment you answer that question honestly, the anger deflates. Not because the thing wasn't real, but because you've placed it in its actual size relative to your actual life. Most things that feel urgent and enormous in the moment are tiny when seen from a year away. Seneca knew this because he had seen it. He had watched people destroy relationships over things they forgot within months. He had watched careers ruined by a moment of anger that served no purpose. He wrote, "The greatest loss of time is to spend it on things that do not matter." Anger on things that won't matter in a year is not just a waste of emotion. It is a theft of your time, your peace, your energy. And you are the one doing the stealing. The question is the antidote. Will this matter in a year? Ask it every time. Answer honestly. Watch what anger does when it's measured against your actual life. It shrinks. Every time. Seneca spent a lifetime studying anger, writing about it, fighting his own battles with it. And his conclusion after all of it was simple. Anger is not strength. It is a brief madness that costs you far more than it ever gives you. So here's the question I want you to sit with. What are you angry about right now that won't matter in a year? Drop it in the comments. And if these ideas are shifting something in you, subscribe. 5 Ideas Daily, every week. This video is for educational and motivational purposes only.